So many companies right now that are trying to push people to go back to the office. And when you ask why, it's because a manager doesn't know how to manage people who are not there. And that's what they need to be productive, which might just mean that you have the wrong manager for the team and the reality that you have, but they don't ever obviously want to hear that. So it's a thought though, that if you really need to think about making certain that your manager matches your team and making certain that your team matches what you're trying to accomplish in the company, you're going to have to make some changes. And sometimes just being flexible is going to be that big change that's going to support more people in the process. So I think that's the thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's we're past the time where you have to actually physically stare at the person you're managing to manage them adequately. Like, we have structures. There's plenty of templates about one-on-ones and checking in, conversation templates even, because I know it's really difficult for first-time managers especially to understand how to best support their team members. But there's so much out there in terms of resources and things you can do and kind of try out, and vulnerable and open about it. Like, hey, I'm a first-time manager, and so I don't fully understand what I'm doing yet, but it's okay. Sometimes I think people think that they have to be ready in some way to do things. But how did the people who are now senior or lead level, how did they learn that? Well, they tried. They gave it a try, and it's okay. And you'll probably fail, but I think it's so much safer when you can be like, hey, we're both here learning, and I would love you to help me to learn as well. So please give feedback on.
You can also learn before you get the job. That's so
of course. I'm not saying
I've definitely seen some people promoted to be manager before they had any kind of training on that or any preparation for that. We can prevent some problems actually just by making certain people learn the basics before they get that role. Fingers crossed. But you're always got to learn about the people that you're working with, the people that you're supporting when you get those people. And that's something that's going to be that dynamic learning that's going to happen in real time. But yeah, some of the things you can find those techniques. You can find what are some conversational templates like you mentioned, or good strategies for people management and people development before you get the job. And that could be a great criteria to think about before we promote people to roles where they have that authority over folks, where they actually can really shape people's experiences, that they really have that understanding beforehand about what are some things that might entail. So that's
absolutely.
Basic,
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was fully in the mode of we're building as we're going and everything is falling apart. But which is something. But I would love if there was more of a ramp and resources and training available for people before they step into that role of authority. Yeah, exactly. So I'm fully in support of actually training people before they. But
it is a balance. It's a balance. Yeah, because you can study a book all day, and that's not going to be what the reality is that you're going to see in front of you. And it kind of almost reminds me of when back in my early teaching days in school, when you're learning certification courses and such, they always tell you, make certain that you teach your student and not your plan. The plan is there to guide you, the resources that you learned and all that kind of stuff you have, that's there to make certain that you have an understanding of how you might proceed. But the reality is the goal is to work with those people and help those people succeed. So I think that's the mindset you have to take with you no matter what, whenever you're working with people. You can have your plan, you can have your learning, you can have your training and such. And that's a great, guideline, which helps give you some foundation. But ultimately, your responsibility and what you're trying to accomplish is with those human beings that you're collaborating with, right? And yeah, I think that's the refocusing sometimes we have to make.
Yeah, and I think you just said some magic words. We were I'm here to help these people succeed, and I think that's already such a great, starting mindset wise.